Today has been a very long day. Hi everyone, my name is Danny and welcome to Something Like a Star. Today I'm going to be doing the Disney tag. I was tagged by Chelsea at Chelsea Bartlett and the original tag is by Caddy at Caddytastic. I will link both Chelsea's channel, Caddy's channel, and Caddy's video down below. I am very excited about this tag, if you can't tell. I used to work at Disney World. For the past year, I was in Orlando, Florida, working as part of the Disney College program. I just got back at the beginning of May, and I had such a good time, and I just really love Disney, so I was so excited to be tagged in this. And I love Disney so much that when I got home, I joined a princess company, hence the Elsa and Rapunzel-ness happening throughout my room. Yes, and hence Elsa at the beginning of this video. I actually just came from a little girl's birthday party where I showed up as Elsa and surprised her. Anna was supposed to be there and surprise her too, and Anna got lost and did not show up. So it was my first solo gig. It was kind of scary. So I hope you don't mind the stage makeup. I did just get back and I have a weird skull cap hair right now, so I pulled it back. Okay, let's get started. Question number 1. The Little Mermaid, a character that is out of their element, a fish out of water. I chose Shadow from American Gods. If you're familiar with the book, Shadow starts the book as a character who has just been released from prison. He's on parole, and he finds out that his wife has died and is set adrift into this series of mythological, God-based journey. And the whole time he doesn't feel like he belongs up until the very end. Even as we're reaching the book's climax, he doesn't want to be there. I really can't wait for this movie. Question number 2. Cinderella, a character who undergoes a major transformation over the course of a book. I actually chose a short story from this one. It's from the book called Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. And the story is called Liking What You See, a Documentary. Here it is. Liking What You See, a Documentary. The character I'm speaking of is called Tamara Lyons, and the premise of the story is it's different articles and different people's feedback on this technology that parents are allowed to essentially chip into their children, and it blocks the receptor that helps people distinguish if what they're seeing is ugly or beautiful. So they can still see it, they just don't have a sense of what's beautiful and ugly, and so they start judging people what's on the inside. Not everyone is chipped, it's just a small segment of society, and the story follows this one university and people's feedback to it when the university starts considering making the chips mandatory. Tamara is the character who goes through the major change. She starts the story on one side of the debate, ends the story on the other side, and it's just a really beautifully written story, and I really recommend this whole book, but that story in particular has stuck with me. Okay, question number 3, Snow White, a book with an eclectic cast of characters. This one's called Behind the Scenes at the Museums by Kate Atkinson. I brought this one with me to Florida. It's one of the 3 books I brought with me to Florida because I've been meaning to read it for a while. It follows Ruby Lennox from the day of her conception through massive adulthood. I think middle age, I believe, is when it ends, and all of her family members in between. So it deals with her uncle who lost a hand in shrapnel from a bomb during the World War, and then had an excuse not to go to war even though they'd been calling him a coward. And it follows her super fundamentalist, paganist cousins, twin cousins, who gang up on her and curse her, essentially. And there's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful plot twist at the end of this book, so I won't spoil it for you, but every single character in here is really well developed, and it tells every character's story through certain items. So that's the idea of the museum. We've got a lucky rabbit's foot, and there's a ring and a button, and it follows the meaning of each of those items to the characters in the book. Another really great read if you haven't read it. Question number 4, Sleeping Beauty, a book that puts you to sleep. This one I chose to interpret a little liberally. It's not necessarily a book that put me to sleep because it's boring, but it is a book that I read when I was little to get to sleep. It's called The Christmas Book, and it was a selection of stories selected by the Child Study Association. I believe it came out in about 1950. It's definitely the earliest it could have come out because the stories in this book run from about 1907 to 1950. My poor copy is about to fall apart, so I don't really want to flip too much, but it's these really gorgeous illustrations inside. I used to read this all the time when I was little. Didn't have to be Christmas. I just read it constantly. So this book put me to sleep. Question number 5, The Lion King, a character who had something traumatic happen to them in their childhood. The Pendragon series has Bobby Pendragon as its main protagonist, and I don't think this book, but in either the first or the second book, he returns from his journey as his now guardian of Second Earth and discovers that his entire life on Earth has been erased. His parents, his sister, down to the scrape in the tree that he made when he was swinging when he was a kid. And if that's not traumatic, I don't know what is. I actually haven't finished this series. I've read the first 5-ish of the books. We have all of them in my house. I don't know why I haven't finished them yet. Maybe that'll be on a TBR for next year. Question number 6, Beauty and the Beast, a beast of a book you were intimidated by but found to be really beautiful. I actually do have this book. It's just buried in my closet over here under a lot of stuff right now, so I didn't pull it out. It's a trade paperback copy of Winter's Tale by Mark Helprin. If you just went and saw the movie and did not read the book, you are missing out. The book centers on really the romance of New York. It's a love letter to New York, but it also has 3 separate romances among the humans of the book. From what I understand, the movie only focused on one of those, and of those 3, it was the least important relationship, and so I was pretty disappointed with the way that turned out. The book itself is actually one that I want to reread. I had to read it very, very quickly for class about a year ago, and I just feel like I didn't appreciate it enough at the time. It's one of those books that you have to sit down and take your time. Read 4 pages and breathe, and then read a chapter and maybe breathe for a month, because it's just such a complex and beautifully, beautifully written love letter. But it's also like this thick. It's huge. My trade paperback was like 950 pages or something. So it is an undertaking. It's a giant book, but it's really worth it. You should read it. Question number 7, Aladdin. A character gets their wish granted for better or worse. One Day by David Nichols. Both Emma and Dexter have some wishes at the beginning, and pretty much all of their wishes do come true in one way or the other, for better and for worse. Essentially, if you're not familiar with the pretext, it follows Emma and Dexter on a single day every year throughout their lives, and it goes through about 20 years of this, 15 to 20 years of it. So you get to see a day in their lives for about 20 years, and I'll let you read to find out what happens. Question number 8, Mulan. A character who pretends to be something they're not. The Kiss of Deception. I've seen this on a lot of booktubers' bookshelves. I had actually never heard of it before BookTube. I hadn't heard of it when I picked it up. A friend of mine who was in the college program with me was an international participant and was moving back home, couldn't take her books overseas with her, and gave me a lot of them for free. So this was among those books. And I actually brought it with me on the one vacation day that I took while I was at Disney, all the way up to St. Augustine for the coldest day of the winter, ironically. And kind of brought it as a trash novel since I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have high expectations. I was intending to read it just to sort of relax, and I hadn't read a trash novel in a while, so I was pretty excited. But it was not a trash novel. I loved this. And the plot twist happened, and I had to go back and flip through every single page that I just read, and it was a solid half of the book. Mary E. Pearson was brilliant in the way she did this, because I could have sworn that I was like, did this author really just mess up in her own book? And it wasn't until I'd flipped back through all the pages that I realized, no, that was intentional, and I am a fool. Essentially, you've got Leah, Caden, and Rafe. Rafe? 3 characters, all 3 of whom are in disguise and sort of lying to each other about who they are and what's going on in their life. Question number 9, Toy Story. A book with characters who you wish would come to life. Yay, Harry Potter! This book is a little shiny. When I was in 4th grade when this came out, yeah, I was 9 years old when this came out, so 4th grade. And I brought it to school with me everywhere. My librarians were so worried about the book that they laminated the dust jacket for me. So I have a very shiny copy of The Goblet of Fire. I chose this particular Harry Potter book because Sirius is still alive. You get the Beauxbatons kids, the Durmstrang kids. You just get such a wonderful cast of characters in this book. A lot of the secondary students get big roles in this book, and I know that there's some problematic things going on in the Harry Potter world, but a lot of the characters are very dear to my heart, and I would just really like to hang out with them and like have brunch and ask them about their lives. That would be cool. And finally, question number 10, Disney Descendants. And the question is your favorite villain or morally ambiguous character? The Lovers in The Scar by China Mieville. Part of the reason that I mentioned Winter's Tale was so intimidating for me is because at the same time I was supposed to be reading this book for class. Both books are about 850 pages. This one, I'm lying. This one came out to 637 or something, but the other one was 850 or 900. So it was a lot of pages to read in. I had 1 week. If you're not familiar with China Mieville, this book takes place in a world that he created. This is actually the second book in a series. The first one is Perdido Street Station. I have not read that one. I would like to, but you don't actually have to read them all to understand them. They're sort of individual stories. And this one follows a girl named Bella, who is escaping a past in the main city and trying to get to a colony and just hang out for a few years and let things cool down. And along the way, she is captured by pirates and a lot of things happen, but she is taken to the city called Armada. Armada is really cool. If you like pirates, you will love this book. Armada is a floating pirate city, and it just travels all over this world, floating on the water. All these buildings are lashed together. The buildings are made of old pirate ships and merchant ships, and the people are completely free to do whatever they want, and there's a lot of tolerance towards people that are discriminated against throughout the rest of the world on one condition. No one in Armada can leave. The rulers of Armada are the Lovers, these pair of a gentleman and a woman who are known by the same name as the Lovers because they are so indistinguishable from each other. And they practice body scarification as part of their lovemaking. They're just a very creepy, strange sort of a set. But they have ambitions for Armada and for the people of Armada that could be good, could be bad, depending on how you're reading the novel and what your thoughts are at the end. And they're just such a fun, creepy kind of villain to read. There's a lot of villains in this book, but they were really fun for me. So definitely the Lovers. All right, so those are my answers to the Disney book tag. I'm actually not going to tag anybody this time just because I ran out of time and forgot to think of people. And also because I just did a tag video. So I'm tagging you. If you would like to do the Disney tag video, please do. Or if you just want to answer a couple questions, feel free to comment down below. I always love to hear your thoughts. And of course, Disney is very dear to my heart, and I always like to talk Disney. So if you're curious about my time at Disney or my work as a Disney princess here or my answers to any of these books, I will talk about them forever. I love them. And even if you just want to talk about who your favorite Disney character is or your favorite Disney movie, comment below. I would love to hear about it. As always, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're interested in more content. Today's song of the day is I'll Make a Man Out of You from Disney's Mulan, and I'll see you guys next week.